are listening to the Walk Through Romans. My name is Leon DeHaan, and we are walking verse by verse through the wonderful book of Romans. The book of Romans is essential for any believer in understanding their salvation. Now today we're in Romans, the 8th chapter, and we're going to start with verse number 26 today. We've been talking about how the Holy Spirit comes and how he gives us this assurance that we are going to be changed. We are going to have new bodies. The nature is going to be changed. And so the Apostle Paul starts out verse number 26 by saying this, in the same way. In other words, he's talking still about the Holy Spirit, but he says, in the same way, the Spirit also helps. You see, all of that hope is really the Spirit of God helping us. And now he's saying this is another way that the Spirit of God helps us. He helps our weaknesses. He helps our weaknesses. What's he talking about? He's helping us in a way that he comes together with us and supports us. This word helps in the Greek language, and by the way, this Greek word's got so many letters and vowels in it and things, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. But it actually means someone who comes along or comes together with for the purpose of supporting someone else. How many of you know that we are in a relationship with God and that God is there through His Holy Spirit to come and to support us in the things in which we are weak. Our weaknesses are weaknesses, and actually this word weaknesses, it can actually be translated even sickness. But it's really here, the Apostle Paul is not talking about something that's physical. He's talking about something that's spiritual. He's talking about the Holy Spirit coming and supporting us spiritually. And so he says, in the same way, the Spirit also helps our weaknesses, for we do not know how to pray as we should, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. What is the Apostle Paul talking about? He's talking about the Holy Spirit coming and helping us with weaknesses in our prayer life. How many of you know our prayer life has weaknesses? Now, I'm not talking about being a weak prayer. But our prayer life doesn't know the who's, doesn't know the hows, doesn't know the what's to pray for. Paul uses a verb here when the pronoun here is translated as how, but it also can mean who, it can mean which, it can mean what. How many of you know that we as believers, it says we don't know how. And when it says how here, it means how, it means what, it means who to pray for, it means what to pray, it means which to pray for, it actually covers everything that we need to be praying for another person and even for ourselves. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever felt weak in praying in the English language or in the language that you speak? You just don't know what to pray. You don't know how to pray it. You don't know what to say. I got good news for you. The Holy Spirit is there right now to help you to help you in those weaknesses, to help you that you can know how, what, where, which, what, to pray for somebody, to pray as we should, to pray in the right way. And then he goes on and he says, but the Holy Spirit himself, what does he do? He intercedes for us. In other words, he takes our place of intercession. He's not talking necessarily about interceding for our needs, but he's talking about the Holy Spirit coming and taking our place of intercession. Let me just say this. Every believer has the responsibility of interceding for someone else. It's not meant just for the intercessors. Now, I believe that there's wonderful people that are called to a place of intercession. But every believer needs to intercede. And so he says, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us. And how does he do it? With groanings too deep for words. In other words, he does it in a way that it cannot be expressed in words. Now, let me just say this. Some of you are going to disagree with me. That's fine. What's this groanings too deep for words? I believe that he's talking here about praying in another language, praying in the Spirit. There's going to be times in our lives when we don't know how to pray for someone else. There's been many, many times in my life where I wake up in the middle of the night and I've got somebody on my mind. I have no idea what they're going through. And I begin to pray in the language that the Holy Spirit gives me. Many times I'll call that person up when it becomes daylight. And I'll say, what was going on with you? Oh, I almost was in a car accident last night. Or I really needed prayer. I was just really desperate. You know what? It's the Holy Spirit helping us in our prayers. It's a language too deep for words. It's a spiritual language. And then the Apostle Paul continues in verse number 27, and he says this, for he searches the hearts and knows the mind of the Spirit. He searches people's hearts. And he knows what the Holy Spirit wants to do in that person's heart. He knows what's going on. He knows the pain. He knows the struggles. He knows everything about that person, and he knows what he wants to do. And so the Holy Spirit begins to pray through you in a language too deep for words. And he begins to minister to that area. And then going on, and I realize my time is up, but I'm not done yet. Because he intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. You know, when you pray, and you pray in the Spirit, there's something that I know for sure. Because you are praying and allowing the Holy Spirit to intercede in your place. You know what? You are praying not only for the needs of a person's heart, but you are praying the exact will of God for that person. Wow. The Holy Spirit is here to help us. I hope that you have received the Holy Spirit. That you have said, Holy Spirit, come and take control of my life. That you've been baptized, immersed into the Holy Spirit. And that you are praying and interceding with the language that cannot be understood, groaning too deep for words. Thank you for watching. Join us again next week as we continue our study of the book of Romans.